Things continue to get worse in Toronto, and Sheldon Keefe speaks out on this. Also, we have a Marc-Andre Fleury trade that could be in the works. But before I start, I just wanted to say to the 82.1% of you guys that aren't subscribed, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. We'll be here all season long giving you updates from all around the league. But with that, let's hop straight into the first topic, which is Keefe makes worrying statement. Now, if you follow social media at all, there was a quote that came out from Sheldon Keefe today that says, after 42 games, I still have questions about who I can rely upon. Now, this is not what you want coming from your head coach just 42 games into the season. These quotes came after the Leafs blowing 4 straight leads in 4 separate games. Now, these games were against the Islanders, which the Leafs led. They ultimately blew the lead. Game was tied, lost in overtime. The Avalanche, they had a lead, once again blown it. The one against Detroit, too, a 4-2 loss. This was after Detroit was delayed. They were stuck in the airport. They got in late due to weather. They got to the stadium and just in time to play this game that was already delayed. And what happened? They ended up blowing a lead to this team. Then you look at the other night when they led 2-0 against the Edmonton Oilers and ultimately did lose 4-2. Now, this is unacceptable in my opinion. When you're looking at these teams, yes, some of these teams are good. The Avalanche have been a strong team. The Oilers are currently on an 11-game win streak now that they won this game. But when you look at the Islanders, this is a team that's struggling. You look at Detroit, this is not a team that is better than Toronto in my opinion. And this just leads back to Keefe saying, I still question about who I can rely upon. When you go back and look at some of these quotes and games as well, when the Toronto Maple Leafs played and lost a 3-goal lead against Colorado Avalanche, John Tavares found himself in an unusual spot for much of the third, and that was on the bench. He was limited to just 3 minutes and 18 seconds and 3 shifts in the final 20 minutes. Now, this is just something that you can't see a captain do. A guy that is a captain on a team like Toronto needs to step up. They need to be made for these big moments. Yes, we did see John Tavares really take that leap. He ultimately did score the game-winning goal that sent the Leafs to the second round. But this is a guy that is kind of struggling, and just having these quotes from Keefe coming out and saying that they can't be relied upon and that they're benching players like this, it's unacceptable. There's so many rumors floating around that Keefe is on the hot seat. And in my opinion, I don't know how much I agree with this. Yes, he did bench a guy like John Tavares. But when you look at Sheldon Keefe, this guy, other than this season, has not had under a 60% win rate with this Toronto team. Do I think Sheldon Keefe's a bad coach? No. Do I think he gets outplayed at times? Yes. A lot of coaches do. A lot of strong coaches don't. But Sheldon Keefe has been a good coach for this Toronto Maple Leafs team. But the big thing with this is, can they trust him anymore? Has he lost his voice in the room? And who will they ultimately hire if Keefe is sent off? Are they going to promote assistant coach and hope that kind of changes the locker room? Is this an internal thing where you need to start making moves? I know there's a lot of reports coming out that Brad Treliving isn't super keen on making massive, especially rentals, trades going into the trade deadline. So this is a big issue with Toronto on where do they go from here? What do they do? Like I said, 42 games, he can't rely on people. You've seen 4 straight games where they've blown the lead. This is just over and over again. It seems like this happens every season. Do you blame Kyle Dubas for not building a good team around Matthews, Marner, Tavares, Nylander? Do you start pointing fingers at some of the stars like Keefe has benched guys like John Tavares? We've also seen Kampf. Nick Robertson is currently held out. Or is this where you just need to make a coaching change, hope for the best, hope this guy can come in, change this locker room, really go on a push? I'm a big guy with keeping what's working. I know the Leafs have had a couple losses, but Keefe has worked. We've seen this team succeed. They've looked like top teams every year. The playoffs are a different story. But overall, regular season, this team has done good. But you could also look at this in the sense of coaching changes. John Tortorella took over on a team like the Philadelphia Flyers. They're currently 3rd in the Metro and overperforming. A new voice, a new guy behind the bench, a new guy to really push you could be the simplest solution. But if this does not work, then you need to look back on, are the stars working? Do we have the right pieces around? Is management making the right decisions? This is going to be a crucial next week for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I can't see them moving on from a guy like Marner, Tavares, Nylander who just signed, Matthews who just signed. These guys aren't going to be moved. Is this where Shanahan and management might look at Treliving and say, do a trade, shake things up? Or is this where management's going to use Keefe as a scapegoat? I know a lot of people don't like Keefe. Like I said, yes, he can get outplayed, but this guy is the most winning coach in Toronto Maple Leafs history, and you don't do that by mistake. But if he's lost his voice in the locker room, you might need to look at a trade or a moving out from Keefe. What's your guys' thoughts? Do you think Keefe is going to be fired? Do you think internally they need to start adding more players with leadership, maybe more Western Conference styles? Or do you think this is a loss of a season for the Toronto Maple Leafs? But with that, let's hop into the second topic, which is Marc-Andre Fleury being shopped. So when you do look at this, it says that the general manager might look at a trade if the Wild just can't get into the right position. You look at the Wild that are struggling right now, and they might approach Marc-Andre Fleury about waiving his no movement clause. This is coming from Pierre LeBrun. He also goes on to say LeBrun expects playing time to be a primary factor in considering a move for Fleury. With 3 Stanley Cups under his belt, he's not ring chasing. This could be his final season. However, he may be interested going to get a 1A role on a contender with a significant issue in the crease. Now, Marc-Andre Fleury, everyone knows this guy. If you don't know him, I don't know what to say, but this guy's been around for a long time. He's a fan favorite. Everyone loves Math. And when you do look at the Flower stats, he's won a Vezina, the Jennings. He's won 3 Stanley Cups. He's been a solid starting goaltender in his entire career. And this is a guy that I expect still wants to compete. If the Wild aren't in a wildcard spot, if they're not in a playoff spot, there's no reason to keep Fleury on this team unless he doesn't want to move. I know there was big issues where he got traded from Pittsburgh to Vegas to the Wild, and he didn't want to move at any of these points. He wanted to stay with organizations and make pushes with them. So this is a weird situation of Fleury has the final say. He could say he wants to stay, or if he ultimately does come out and the management of the Wild do come out and say, hey, we'd like to move you, let's get you into a good position, what teams might be looking at him? And now there's also more reports from Pierre LeBrun that he speculated the New Jersey Devils, among other teams, are landing spots for Marc-Andre Fleury. When you look at the Devils, this is a team that has great talent all around. The forwards, Jack Hughes, Hischier, Bratt. There's so many guys on this team that are just outstanding and that can play and bring you to the level of a Stanley Cup contender. You look at the defense, right now they are without a guy like Dougie Hamilton. Luke Hughes is coming into his own. But when you really get back onto the defense, or the goaltending, this is where they've struggled. They've not been able to really get a full week or two of just outstanding goaltending. Dawes has been all right as of late, but Vanacek has been a bit of a lost cause. So maybe they want to look at this, hey, you guys want to move on from Fleury, we can eat the salary. Hamilton's out till at least the playoffs, so we can take on this, and we can use this guy as our 1A, 1B, whatever it may be. I just can't see Marc-Andre Fleury ending his career not in the playoffs. And do I think he could come in, steal the show, and bring the Devils to the Stanley Cup Finals? Yes. The East is wide open. There are a couple powerhouses, but the Devils are among this. And goaltending is the biggest issue. You can also look at a team like the Carolina Hurricanes, who are struggling with goaltending as well. You see Ranta as the only healthy goalie within this organization right now. Freddie Anderson hasn't been great, and Kuchiman has not have been outstanding either. So maybe this is a team that keeps an eye on them. The Oilers are with Skinner, who's playing outstanding, as we've seen them beat the Leafs the other night. So I can't see them making a trade. And with the Leafs still kind of floating around with a guy like Joseph Woll, Martin Jones, and Samsonov, I can't see them being too actively in on this guy. I think Fleury is going to be the perfect piece where Markstrom gets traded. A team takes a swing on another goaltender, maybe Jake Allen. And if they miss out on guys like this, you could really take the swing on a guy like Marc-Andre Fleury. So what's your thoughts? Do you think Fleury is going to be traded? What teams do you think are going to be looking at Fleury? And ultimately, do you think Sheldon Keefe is going to get fired? But with that, let's hop straight into the everyone's favorite topic, which is comment of the day. And the comment today comes from Braun Snake. He says, I see a lot of people jumping on Keefe and Treliving when the fact is that Dubas was who put this team in this position. The team lacks credible playoff defense. Jones has been fantastic. Woll is traveling with this team. But they do need to add goaltending, a top left winger, and defense. Now with this, I do agree with parts of this. I think goaltending right now should be fine. Joseph Woll was outstanding before he went out with an injury. I believe he had a 9.16. He looked great. He really saved the Leafs really early on when they started to struggle. We've seen Martin Jones step in, and Samsonov did not have a terrible game in his return. So this might be a thing they want to just kind of ride this out. One of these guys are going to step up, and ultimately it would save you a prospect, a pick, whatever it might be. When you look at a top line left wing, I think Pontus Holmberg has been outstanding in his first game there. I thought he's been great so far. I could see Pontus maybe getting a second chance on this top line. But when you look at this team, I do think another winger, maybe another center if you feel more comfortable with Max Domi playing wing. And then defense, I think they need to pick up a defenseman. Giordano has lost a tiny bit of foot speed. We've seen Benoit step up. McCabe has looked great. Brody has had flashes. Riley's been outstanding. But it really needs that second pairing or third pairing lefty or righty. I think they need to have a look. I think they need to be active on the market. And like I said, do you think this is going to fix the problems? Do you think this is where Keefe might get fired and then things come around? What you guys thought? I know there's a lot of tension in Toronto right now. And other than that, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment. We enjoy reading your guys' comments. It's awesome to hear where you guys are from, your stories, and everything like that. But with that, take care.